Hello. Today we're going to talk about a paint layering technique on this old wooden chair. We started by degreasing it and it was broken in places, so we repaired it and used some wood filler, sanded it. You want to definitely clean it before you sand, and then just glued some pieces back together. It was a real big mess. So you can see there's a bit of repair work done. Now I have primed all of the pieces of the chair when we took it apart with block and tackle. And I let that rest for a couple days. I did 2 coats on there. And now I'm using Gatsby. Gatsby is Granny B's old-fashioned chalk paint. It's a beautiful darker teal color, and it goes on so beautifully over the primer. I like to use a foam roller. It just helps me get like nice even coverage, especially on a piece like this. It has lots of different sides and parts and pieces. It just helps the whole project go a little bit quicker, and especially the edges. Like I love using the foam roller on edges. It's so much nicer than a paintbrush for me. That's personal preference. So I give 1 coat to all the pieces and I let them dry, and it dries pretty quickly. The paint dries within 15 minutes. And then I go in and add a 2nd coat. And here you can see what I mean with the foam roller. See how quickly it goes. I love using the foam roller on chair legs and table legs and things like that too. Here I'm applying the 2nd coat of Gatsby, and you can see it just get richer and richer with each coat you add. And I only did 2 coats because I'm going to be adding other colors. Now I'm adding G.I. Jane. So what I do is I wet my brush and I just go over the surface very lightly with just a thin layer. And then I grab a baby wipe and I start wiping it back. And I just smooth it out, and I want to remove a little bit of that paint in some areas because I want a nice streaky finish. You have to make sure your base coat is completely dried and cured before doing this technique. And here I'm showing again, and just applying the paint liberally, like just in areas, not making sure that it's all even, just going around it and adding a very thin layer. And here I'm using a water mister, and then I go over it with the brush, and then I can wipe it back if I feel like the coverage is too heavy, because I want that base coat to come through. So this is actually kind of a fun part because you can play around with this and get used to it. Now, once you decide what you're going to do, like by misting and wiping back, you want to do that with all the pieces to keep the look consistent. So decide early on how you want to apply this, and you'll get the same look throughout the entire piece when you're doing it. And here it is, all finished with that G.I. Jane layer. And you can see what it looks like with just the Gatsby next to what it looks like with the G.I. Jane. So it's looking really, really cool. And my 3rd layer is going to be Teacup Green. This is one of my absolute favorite colors. So this time I am just going to apply a light layer and only wetting my brush. You can mist the surface a little bit if the paint dries too quickly before you get a chance to move it around. And you can see that I do that here because I am working outside. It is a little bit warm today, and I'm just applying a very light layer. And with the G.I. Jane and with the Teacup Green, I'm only doing 1 layer over the Gatsby. Now, once this dries, you'll be able to see all the variations in colors come through, and it's such a stunning finish. And you can see I'm just misting lightly. I'm working in sections, and I'm not applying an awful lot. It's just a very thin layer on my brush. You can practice this on a scrap wood piece before you go ahead and do a whole furniture piece, but it's very easy, and there is lots of room for, working it out and error, because you can always go back and rework it and fix it. It's a very rustic look, so it's not supposed to be completely perfect. Here I am applying some appliques to enhance that little design at the top. I really love that little design at the top of the chair, and I wanted to keep it. So here I'm just adding appliques just to enhance that feature and give it that folk art kind of style. I wanted to keep with the look and style of the chair, so I'm just trying to enhance that a little bit. And I'm just spreading cold glue over the back of the appliques and then adding them to my surface. Just making sure I get the glue nice and evenly throughout so every little detail sticks nicely. And there you have it. I love it. I love how the red just kind of pops. You know, you can use all kinds of appliques to enhance your furniture, and you can paint them with Granny Bee's paints and make them your own and make them totally unique. Now, I am adding Granny Bee's clear wax. This is Papa G's wax. I love the look of wax. It makes everything look silky and smooth, and it just gives this beautiful satiny finish at the end. And I'm adding another wax. So this will help the antiquing wax I'm going to add just move around really beautifully. So I add 2 layers of this clear wax, and I just make sure that I hit the entire surface with my brush. I'm using my Hamilton's wax brush. I love this brush. It's so awesome. And then I go in with a lint-free cloth and I just wipe back the wax in case I got it kind of heavy in certain areas and not in others. And this also helps smooth it out and make sure that I've gotten the entire surface. And there it is with all the wax, and we put it back together. We were a little worried about that, remembering how to put it back together. Now here is the antique wax, and I'm using the same brush, and I'm going to start on the appliques at the top. So what I do is I take a piece of cardboard after I dip my brush in the can and swipe it on the cardboard just to get the wax evenly on the brush, and then I go at the surface. So here I'm just swirling it around like I did with the clear wax, and now I'm taking my cloth and just smoothing it out and wiping back any areas where it might have just gotten a little bit too caked on. I just want to make sure that it looks nice and even and antiqued. You know, I don't want any dark splotches, and this brush actually helps prevent that. It really smooths out the wax beautifully. Oh, I think there was like a little piece of lint or something stuck in there, of course. So then I'm going to go throughout the entire chair, adding this wax. Don't be afraid to use this dark wax. It's at first when you put it on, it's going to be a little bit dark, but just work it with your brush. Just keep working it until you are happy with the color and the finish that you have. If you get a spot that you don't like, take a bit of the clear wax on a piece of cloth and just wipe it away and start over. That's the best advice I can give anybody. So if you get a spot that you really hate, you can always remove it with a clear wax and then go back at it again. But you can see with the base of the clear wax first, this helps the antiquing wax move around really, really beautifully and silky smooth. So I also like to go back in and enhance any areas just to highlight some of the details of my furniture pieces as well. It's a really cool effect. I think you'll really, really love it. You can go as dark as you want or as light as you want. You can add one layer, let it cure, and then add another layer if you like. And it just depends on the depth that you want. And here I'm doing the seat. You can see the cardboard. It just helps me smooth out some of that wax, and you can see where there's streaks and stuff there. So that's not a problem. With the clear wax layer at the beginning, this helps you move it around, and you can do that with the cloth or the brush. It's totally up to you. And it's kind of fun just to experiment and play around. And once I am done adding the antiques layer, I let the chair rest, and the wax takes about, 24 hours to cure fully, and I just love it. And this is the final layer. So once you put wax on the chair, it is sealed. You don't want to go over, wax is always last. You don't want to go over it with armor or anything water-based. It's not going to stick. So wax is always last. And here is the final piece. I just love how it looks with the colors coming through and the antiquing wax. I feel like I really, kept with the character of the chair, and it's absolutely beautiful. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.